rolling, and I'll let in whoever comes. So start with your ball. Go ahead and start rolling your feet. Pick a foot to start with. So we have the ball again. Ball of the foot here, heel of the foot here. We got that inside edge. Think of this being your arch of your foot, outside edge, along the very rim, outside edge of that foot, and then straight up the middle, trying to find all that space in between. What we're gonna do is roll each foot for just about 2 minutes on each side. So not just roll, but we're gonna do a little pin and stretch as well. So find a spot, rolling back and forth. Remember, when we're rolling, we want the toes to be up a little bit and in that neutral position. Not so much in the curled position, but just that relaxed position, but also with the toes pulled up. So try that in all 3 spaces. I'll turn this way. So you want to get down into that arch, turning the big toe down towards the floor, up by the ball of the foot, down by the heel of the foot. Okay, all that space in between. From the front, I'm going straight back and forth between my 2 big toes, or my 2 middle toes, sorry. I don't have 2 big toes, 2 middle toes. Straight back and down. All right, keep going. All right, got about 30 more seconds on this foot. And what I want you to do is pin and stretch. So, polka dot. So push down, hold, and then wiggle the toe. So what we are doing is a pin and stretch. I call it the polka dot. So when you push down into that trigger point, wherever it is, moving the toes is the stretch. So press down, hold, move the toes. You're going to lift them up and out, and that's your stretch. Okay? Pin and stretch. Welcome, whoever joined us. We're just rolling the first foot on our first foot still. I press down, wiggle the toes. Find a new spot. Press down, wiggle the toes. Find a new spot. Don't be afraid to find those little nooks and crannies in there, especially if you found tight spots. Good. So notice I'm lifting and spreading my toes away from each other as wide as I can get. I can feel this all the way up into my shins. Right up into that shin. Just a little bit longer on this foot. And then what we'll do is a little check. Okay, so shake that out. Take a big inhale up. Exhale, just do a forward fold. And walk side to side, right side to left side. Whatever side you roll, notice the difference between that and the side that we have not touched yet, right? So we're just rolling the feet. It's all we've done. A little bit of scraping, a little bit of pin and stretch. And feel the difference between those 2 sides. Okay, switch feet. Go to the other side. Okay, back and forth. Ball of the foot to heel of the foot. Inside of the foot. Outside of the foot. And the middle. Right, rolling back and forth. If you need any balance aid here, feel free to do this kind of hanging on to the wall so that you can focus on getting into the spaces and loosening up. Okay, so picturing all those tight spots that you found on this foot, we're going to go back and pin and stretch those areas as well. So basically we're polka dotting those tight spots that we just found. Right, so push down, squeeze, hold, pick up the finger or pick up the toes, spread them wide, and release. Find a new spot, push down, hold, pick up the toes, spread them wide, maybe get a little activation of the quad muscle, and release. New spot, push down, hold, pick up the toes, maybe wiggle them a little bit. And I haven't mentioned, but you need to remember that all important breath. Don't hold your breath. Big inhales and exhales, and releasing. Good, so about 30 more seconds here. On the feet, on this foot. Big inhales and exhales. Good, now stay with this foot or go back to the first foot and go back to rolling or polka dotting. I'm just gonna spend one more minute here on the feet, rolling the feet. And then we're gonna come down to the floor. We're gonna do spend a little time rolling the calves today, all right? So about 15 more seconds, just alternating or doing what you need to do. Spend time where you need a little bit extra time. One foot is got a lot more tightness than the other. Then spend some extra time, about 30 more seconds. Good. Okay, so shake out both feet. And then let's come do our stretch again. Big inhale, up, exhale, come down. See if you notice a difference just from the feet rolling, right? We didn't do one in the very beginning. We did one after we rolled that first foot. What do you feel in the hamstrings, shins, hips? Rolling side to side. Good. So now, like I said, we're going to work on the calves. So come down to the floor, right? And I'm going to kind of be sideways here. You can see me. I'm going to work on the bigger gastroc muscle first. So I'm going to put that ball right in the middle, right? And then I'm going to work it to the inside. So the gastroc, most of it here, right? Right in that kind of that inside section. That's what I'm going to focus on first, is that big gastroc muscle. Rolling, pressing. I have a tight spot right here, so I'm just going to add some ankle movement for a little pin and stretch. I move it down. So focusing on the gastroc, that bigger outer layer of the calf muscle first. We will get into that under layer, the soleus, but right now that gastroc muscle, and the gastroc attaches way up high into this space, right? So do a little exploring through there, whether it's rolling the ball side to side, rolling it in a vertical pattern. Right, and then take that out to the outside, so outer edge of the gastroc here, right along that outer shin bone, which is called your fibula, okay? Lots of attachments up in this space behind that fibula muscle. You can spend a little time there. Again, pushing, moving the foot, whatever feels good, up and down. Maybe do some kind of lift the butt a little bit, go back and forth, right along that outer edge. All right, and then spend a little time down low. So if you're looking at my Achilles, if I pinch my Achilles right on either side of that, on the outside, right up against that fibula bone, that outer bone, all right, down in that lower space, so we're below the gastroc here. There's more soleus, and I'm going to turn to the inside. All right, so imagine pinching your Achilles, and you're going to be just above that space on either side. All right, a little inside and outside. And then we're going to do straight up the middle. So if you feel your Achilles, right, pinch it, and then follow it up, where it goes from that firm, fibrous tissue into a softer, muscly tissue. That's where that soleus begins. We're going to stay down here in this space. Again, moving the foot, right? Soleus is the primary mover of the foot, pulling it up, right? Bringing our toes up towards our shin, moving the foot side to side. Never want to lose that ability to flex the ankle. Once we lose that, we start to do that shuffle, right? That stiff ankle shuffle. All right, so moving further up now, pulling that gastroc out of the way. So if I grab it, pull it in, now where my fingers are, I pull the gastroc out of the way. Now I'm working the soleus underneath that outer layer muscle. Okay, rolling back and forth. Try to pin, stretch. Just about 30 more seconds on here on this leg, and then we'll switch. All right, so as we're moving at the ankle, just like we did with when we were rolling the feet, try to really get those toes to move. Get them to wake up, pull apart from each other, maybe move independently of the one next to it, which is a challenge, I know. But just try to get as much movement in those toes and your ankle as possible, right? Good, okay. Let's go right to the other foot, or other leg, sorry. Again, we started right there in that meaty gastroc muscle. We started there. Spend some time here, whether it's back and forth in a horizontal pattern, up and down in a vertical pattern, maybe a little circular, whatever feels good to you. Okay, staying on that outer level and still doing some ankle movements here. Okay, going to that outer edge. We talked about this space all the way up where the back of the knee is on that fibula head. Your head of your fibula inserts way up here, and then going down. So we're doing a little vertical on that outer edge there. Moving at the ankle. Right. And we're right back in the middle. And finding that Achilles, right where I pinch it, and take that up a little bit. Put that ball right on the inside. So now I'm right up next to that tibia bone on this inside. And then if I roll to the outside, I'm right up next to that fibula bone. I'm moving at the ankle. Good, and then finding that Achilles again, where it's fibrous tissue, right? Work your fingers up to where that fibrous tissue becomes softer, leads into that muscle. Put it right in that space, spend a little time pushing down, moving the ankle, not on the Achilles, but we're above that. Moving, I'm gonna push down and move, and then take a little bit up, push down and move, and then scooch a little bit up. Okay, so I'm working my way up back to that gastroc where we started. All right, and then find the soleus on this side, pulling that gastroc to the outside so you can get underneath of it there. Rolling, targeting that soleus muscle. Good, just about 30 more seconds here. And then we're gonna stand up and stretch. Stretch the feet and the calves. So always on Mondays, I spend a little bit extra time on the feet and the calves, so important. Right, the feet, always, what the feet are doing translates up the chain to the rest of the body. Recommend just rolling the feet, maybe just a few minutes a day, make a big, big difference, okay? So now we're gonna go, I have a wall right here, I'm in the fitness center. So if you don't have a wall, don't need to have the wall. I'm gonna step in my feet. So I'm gonna step with toes pointed forward. I'm not gonna have a rotated foot. I'm gonna go straight forward. This is my back foot. I'm gonna push that heel down into the floor, okay? So you can't see my hands, but my hands are pushing into the wall. At the same time, my heel is pushing down into the floor. So think about a 90-degree angle with your hands going forward and your heel going down, okay? We're stretching the calf here. This is targeting the upper part of the calf. Maybe a little bit through that hip flexor as well, okay? So I'm taking my back heel as I push it down. I'm also tucking the tailbone and pressing that hip forward to stretch a little bit through that hip flexor. Let's take 3 breaths here. Good, and let's bend that knee. So as we bend the knee, only go to the depth that you are allowed to go, still keeping your heel on the floor, okay? So now we're targeting that lower calf into the soleus and Achilles. Big inhale, exhale, still pushing into the wall, pushing heel into the floor. 2 more breaths. Good, and I'm gonna push back up. Now I'm gonna come onto my toes. So same thing, toes are going into the floor, but imagine you have a string attached to the back of your heel that's coming up to the ceiling. Tucking the tailbone, pressing the hip forward, stretching the bottom of the foot here. Good, and switch. Now the tops of the toes into the floor, front of the ankle forward. So that wall you're pushing into with your hands, I want you to kick that front of the ankle in the same direction forward, tucking the tailbone, squeezing the glute, getting a little hand or hip flexor lengthening here as well. 3 breaths. Good, and shake that out. And we'll just switch to the other side. So other foot in the back, toes pointed forward, heels down. I'm gonna keep my knee straight to start, focusing on my heel pressing down into the floor, hands pressing forward, making that 90-degree angle. And then I'm gonna bend the knee, taking it only to where I can, still keep my heel on the floor. Heel still presses down, knees bent, tailbone tucked. Good, now I'm gonna come up onto the toes, pushing the toes down, heel up to the ceiling. Good, now I'm gonna flip over, toes into the floor, front of the ankle forward. Big inhales and exhales, tucking that tailbone, pressing the hip forward as well. Good, and shake those out. All right, since we're on the wall, we're gonna stay here. Continue the roll, grab your ball. Okay, so we're gonna roll out the hips. Okay, roll out the hips and glutes. So starting with, we're gonna try a new space here, that high hamstring space. So I'm gonna push the ball right into this kind of outer edge here, this outer hamstring space with the ball. Going down harder, it's going to be harder to kind of pin the ball with the lower part, but see if you can target kind of right below where that glute is. And lean into the wall, right? Now what I'm doing is kind of taking the ball next to the IT band. If you roll onto the IT band, it's probably going to be pretty sore, but see if you can just go a little up and down right in that space. So imagine your ball and socket joint, right? We're kind of targeting that space just below it, and I'm doing a little squat, a little mini squat down and up, maybe a little side to side. So like we were on the outer edge of the lower leg, right to that calf muscle, right? We want to go on that outer edge right next to that outer edge of the femur here as well targeting the lateral or outside part of our hamstring. Okay? Again, gets into that IT band, so control how much pressure you're putting into that space. Okay, so IT band runs up and down, but next to the IT band is your vastus lateralis. Right, that's the outer part of your quad, and you have also an outer part of your hamstring. So I'm going to do it on this side so you can kind of see where I'm putting it. Okay, right in this space, up into this space, right in that space. Okay, so rolling a little side to side, a little up and down. Yeah, target is that lateral quad, lateral hamstring. So lateral hamstring is going to be here, lateral quad is going to be on top. We think about that IT band running right here. We're targeting the space below, above it and the space below it. Okay. So I'm just going to invite you to switch sides as you want here. Okay. And I'll just give you kind of a countdown of how much more time we're going to spend in each section. And just switch between the two. So I'm just going to go from one to the other. Right? Remember, if you're finding it's too much point tenderness, pull it back a little bit. You can even put it a little bit more right on the quad, so right in here. And then you have to kind of hug the wall so you can get into this space, that lateral quad, lateral hamstring space with your ball. All right, so we're going to do a 1.5 minutes more on this hamstring quad space. Okay, so just alternate between the two, breathe. If you find a tight spot, I have a tight spot on my right side out here. I'm going to push and hold it. And as I push and hold it, I can move a little bit. You can see my knee kind of bending and flexing. And as I do that, I'm breathing, and that muscle is sliding, should be sliding, next to that IT band. That's the movement that we want to have here. Hopefully it's not bound up so tight that you don't get a lot of movement in there. All right, 1 more minute left in this space, and then we'll take it into the glutes. All right, see it here. I'm going to target that lateral hamstring in here. All right, and again, I can do a little bend at the knee. Doesn't have to be a full bend. Just trying to get that muscle to slide around the IT. We don't want it just to be bound down, stuck together. Good. Okay, so let's take it up to the glute. So we've done the glute plenty of times, right? Lower glute space, that big glute max. Put it in there, roll a little side to side, a little up and down, maybe a little diagonal. That glute muscle goes from the tailbone, or sorry, from the hip into the tailbone on a little bit of a diagonal pattern. And same thing here. Alternate between sides, whatever feels good to you. All right. Targeting that ball and socket joint. Remember, we want to kind of trace around that, moving it. Right? I mean, not moving it, but trace around that ball and socket joint. All those little hip external rotators that crisscross in that space. Good. It's going to do about 30 more seconds here in a low glute space. And we'll take it up into the upper glute space, which is that glute med. Good. Okay, so now we're going to work on that high glute space. Finding the rim of the pelvis, right? Working just below the rim from all the way from right along the side in towards that tailbone. Finding that bony landmark. Top of my pelvis is here. I'm going to put the ball right below it, but also I'm going to put it a few inches down. So explore that whole space. Right below the pelvis is one, but can you take it a little bit lower and explore that as well? So never going to the spine, just right up next to it. From him out. So you're just above where that ball and socket joint is. All right? Breathing, holding. But just alternating between sides on your own. Listen to your body, give it what it needs. All right, if you find a tight spot here, and we can pin it, press, hold, take that inside arm, reach it up, and then you're gonna reach away from the wall. So as you push your hip into the wall, pinning that ball, you're gonna reach up and away from that space for pin and stretch. Do at least 2 breaths. Inhales and exhales before releasing, right? So it's always your inside arm that's gonna do that stretch up and stretch it out. So just about 30 more seconds here in the glutes, and then we're going to stay on the wall without the ball and just do one more stretch of this glute space. All right, so I'm going to move my computer here a little bit so I can move back and see me a little bit better. Okay, still can't see my head, but you can see the parts I'm talking about. Okay, so don't need the ball right now. What we're going to do is a little bit of just the outer hip stretch, right? And you're going to do this next to the wall. So I'm going to put my leg that's away from the wall behind. So my legs are in a crisscross pattern. Okay? I'm going to lean into the wall a little bit and step, I would say, about 1 to 2 feet away from the wall. So you notice I'm not right next to it. My feet are a little bit here. Okay? Now my leg that's away from the wall is behind. I'm going to lean into that hip. Okay? So I'm stretching this space. Now I'm going to take that same side arm up to the ceiling, reach like you're climbing, reaching up a ladder, sticking the hip out. Now that arm goes back to the wall. So again, fingers going one way, hips going the other. So I'm really focusing on this outer hip space. Big inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Come back up. Legs are crossed. Imagine you're squeezing the inner thighs together. Lengthen. Keep the inner thighs squeezed together as you reach out. Now you're going to take this front hip and send it forward just a touch. Now we're getting into that TFL, that front space. Big inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Good. Restack, come up. So that's focusing on this space here. You might feel that stretch down into the outside of your legs, right, that we targeted. That's a good indicator that you might have a lot of tightness in that lateral side. Let's do big inhale up. Exhale out. I can't see my feet, but my feet are flat. So my back foot, there's one that's crossed behind. I still have my big toe in contact with the floor. It's not rolling up as I stick my hip out. And restack. Let's go to the other side. So again, the leg that is away from the wall is going to cross behind that foot. Big toe, pinky toe, heel, all in contact with the floor. Big inhale up. Exhale, send the hip away, send the fingers back to the wall. Good. Restack, take a big inhale. I want you to imagine the inner thighs squeeze together. Climb the ladder. Exhale, hip out, hip away, fingers to the wall. 3 more breaths. Come back up. We go one more time. This time you're going to take this front hip. We've been focusing on sending it straight out. And I want you to send it out and a little bit forward. Right? So big inhale up. Hip goes out, but it's going to angle it just a little bit forward as you're taking the front corner of your hip and sending it towards the corner of the room that you're in. Big inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. And inhale, exhale. Good. Okay. So let me readjust here. We're going to come down to the mat now. Finish stretching. You see me there? Finish stretching the hips, hips and hamstrings. All right, so we've done a little bit of hip stretching already. We're going to hit the hamstrings as well. Make this way. Oop, don't want to lose my cord. Okay, so this is where you're going to need your strap, okay, or your towel, whatever you have will work. We're going to come down to the floor first, right, into our hamstring stretch, right? So onto the floor, grabbing your towel, your yoga strap, whatever you have. Let's send your right leg up to the ceiling. You're going to put that strap around the arch of your foot. Next up, keeping the knee bent, focus on the hip, the back of the pelvis, pressing down to the floor or mat, right? So we're actively pressing down, and now we're going to actively push the heel towards the ceiling. And as I do that, the knee will straighten a little bit, but you don't have to get into that straight knee position. Just want to feel that nice stretch up the back of the hamstring. So again, holding the toe down will give you more stretch to the calf, give you more stretch to the hamstring as well. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Now, keeping that hip anchored on the mat, use your strap, come out to the side, still pulling the toes towards the shin. And this other knee can fall out. Now we're getting more of that inner thigh space. And see if you can take your toe, if you can see it there in the camera. I'm kind of pointing my big toe, rotating that leg out. That gives a little bit of mobility, so you can see that movement. That's coming from my hip socket, so I'm just getting a little movement in that space. Good. I'm going to use my belly button, use my core, belly button to spine, come back to center. Now, before we go to the other side, I'm just going to do what's called a little bit of a floss, hamstring floss, still pressing my hip down. And you can use your fingertips here, kind of push them into that space and make sure that you're not losing contact with your fingers. So I'm going to push my hips down, raise my heel up to the ceiling, then I'll let it go. Push my hips down, raise my heel to the ceiling, let it go. Let's do 4 more. So again, opposition here, right? 2 more. And last one. Good. Now I'm going to take my big toes, point it towards the center of my body. Again, keeping my fingers squished with that hip space. Take it across the body. So I don't have to go very far, right, to feel that outer hamstring stretching. Right? So we spend a little time rolling this space. Now we're targeting stretching that space. Again, got my fingers pinned underneath the hip. I'm not letting the hip roll over here. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Good. Before you take the strap off that side, I'm going to turn it this way. But what we're going to do is just a little, let's call it a stirrup stretch. So I'm going to bring my foot in and then send it out. And bring it in and send it out. So what's this stretching? Again, outer hamstring. We're asking that outer hamstring and quad to slide along next to the IT band. Notice I'm bringing my toe in. Bring it out. You can do it with your hand if you want. Bringing the foot in. Rotating out. I'm just going to do 3 more on this side. Good. Okay. Now we're going to switch. Okay. On the other side. Okay. Again, hip into the mat, heel up to the ceiling, toes to the nose. Tugging on that band, bring it closer to my chest. You feel that nice stretch. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Going out to the side, using the strength of that band to hold, or towel, whatever you have. Hold up the leg. Still pulling the toes back. Get a nice stretch in the inner thigh. Belly button in, back to center, big toe to the inside, take it across. Make sure that hip's not rolling up, it's still anchored in the mat. Coming back up, and we're just going to do a little bit of that hip flaps on this side. So hip into the mat, knee bent, keep the hip in the mat, heel up to the ceiling. For 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1 more on this side. 5. Good, and we're going to do that. Rotate in, extend out and up. Rotate in, extend out and up. 3 more here. And last one. Good. So using your strap if you need to, you're going to put it around both feet and come into happy baby. If you don't need the strap, you can go ahead and grab your toes either on the inside or outside, either elbows inside the knees or elbows outside the knees, whatever feels best to you. And we're active here in that we're pressing the tailbone down to the mat and adding a little rock side to side. Nice, a little happy baby. Tailbone down. Continuing with the breath. Now, if you want, you can extend one leg out as you rock. You can extend the other leg out as you rock. You can extend both legs out as you rock. Good. And just grabbing the backs of the knees, pulling those knees firmly into the chest. Continue that rocking, still pressing the tailbone down. And you're rolling to one side, coming on up. And I think I'm running out of time here. Just about a minute. I encourage you to finish in child's pose. So whatever that looks like for you, knees wide, knees together. I do encourage you, if you haven't tried it, to just set the hips back with your legs together. That puts your belly right on top of your thighs with either your hands forward or along next to your side, whatever feels best to you. And then what you want to focus on is your breath. Remember, we talk about the breath starting through the belly, filling that belly space. And then taking it up through the diaphragm into the lungs. And on the exhale, reversing it. Lungs, diaphragm into the belly. So in that child's pose, with the belly right up against the thighs, as you inhale through the belly, expanding that belly space, you get a nice stretch into that low back. Right? So imagine that low back space, which you should have better ability to move and breathe now that we've loosened up the hips and the hamstrings. So belly breath into the diaphragm, filling the lungs, and then reversing. Belly breath, diaphragm, full expansion of the lungs and rib cage, and then reversing. I encourage you to do 4 or 5 more breaths here, longer if you need. Take the time, invest in yourself, and I will see you back here on Wednesday.